I would love to know the reason why why it's named different. Why the sun is named different.
Yeah, well, I assume it's because the sun is involved in some way.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'd love to know why it's named different. Well, the sun's in it. Could be that.
Yeah, that's your hot comic take. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ETTO Comics cast for September of 2021. We are recording this in September. It is September right now.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely is.
Yeah, definitely September. September, great month, famously. Earth, Wind, and Fire got the song.
September. Yeah.
Also, start of spring. We like spring. If you're in America, start of fall. Don't know if fall's as good as spring. That's up for debate. But yeah,
there's a more downward trajectory to fall, whereas spring seems to be a bit more uplifting. So
yeah.
There
is one man just back on music. There is one man that doesn't quite like September. And that is Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day, because he wants to be woken up when September ends. Disney's he's not too much of a fan, but you know.
I'd like to be woken up a little bit into October when Shang-Chi goes to Disney Plus. That's when I would like to be woken up.
Please.
That's the same as me. And what a lovely segue that was, Will, because guess what comic we're talking about today? It's Shang-Chi.
Venom, let there be carnage.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, because by goodness, do I have a bone to pick with Sony and Venom. But yeah, for this one, we're doing Shang-Chi. Because the movie is out in 2 days from time of recording. Yeah. Oh, no, wait, no, sorry, 1 day, because we're recording this in September.
We're in September.
September.
Yes, definitely.
Let's cut that other bit out. It's fine. And we will all be able to go see it on the day it comes out, for sure. We won't.
The world is changing so rapidly.
We'll be out of lockdown in a day. I'm just still so sad about it.
It sucks. It sucks so much.
We don't live in Americans aren't even going to go see this in the cinemas, are they? They've got Delta and stuff.
Yeah.
Are they even in lockdown though?
No,
but
they're lazy.
But they're lazy. Yeah, it's like. So okay. So here's the thing. Australia's in lockdown. Everyone, a lot of people who's watching this probably know that we can't go see Shang-Chi. So this is made to line up with Shang-Chi. When in fact, as Will mentioned earlier, we'll be watching it in 47 days time. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to say, Disney, sort your shit out. Put everything on Premier Access. The pandemic's not over. No. Please, when Eternals comes out, put it on Premier Access. Spider-Man, I don't know what the deal is with Sony. They don't seem to like that, but please, I don't want to wait 45 days.
Like you've created a whole subcategory to your subscription service. You can't just stop making that a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it can't go away.
Yeah,
like it's got to be because of the contracts, but just update your contracts.
Yeah.
Just amend it. Just add now that the pandemic is here and you all signed it pre-pandemic, probably. We're just going to amend it. We're going to add. You're going to get paid for the Premier Access. Stuff.
Absolutely. This is the thing I said to so many people on it, and we're not going to harp on it for too long because we'll get to the comic. But I said to so many people, it's just like me saying anything is not going to change it because it's Disney and they care about money. But literally, like, they can afford to change the contracts, pay all the people out and stuff, and it would barely affect their bottom line. They're like, it's an experiment, but it's just being lazy. That's all it is.
And surely they're not. They would make money from it anyway.
You'd think this is gonna be an absolute flop in the box office through no fault of its own. Apparently, it's quite a good movie from what I'm hearing. But yeah, I don't know. It's a shame, especially because it's the first Asian American superhero film. But yeah, look, just very sad about that. But to be timely, in case you're watching this in another country and you can go see Shang-Chi, we're going to talk about one of the most recent comics that Shang-Chi has been in, which was 2020. He was in a little mini-series of 5 issues. What did you guys, just brief overview, what did you guys think about this comic?
I I really enjoyed it. It was way more dialogue heavy than I was expecting. So there was a lot of like lore and stuff, but I thought it was generally pretty interesting. That extra lore, there was a lot of, it's very almost like your Ghost of Tsushima sort of lore, like going back in historical events and things like that. Which was well written, but it was a lot more dialogue heavy than I was expecting for a kung fu character. I guess totally. I was expecting a lot more fighting and kung fu and cool stuff like that, but for the most part, it was just a lot of like family quarrels.
I was just surprised by how magical everything is in the world of Shang-Chi. Like I think obviously Iron Fist is kind of that realm as well, and there's like a literal glowing fucking fist. So there's something up there. But I kind of, despite the trailers and marketing of this showing a lot of magic, I thought that might have been a liberty of the MCU to try and kind of play with the character and make it a bit more visually interesting. But clearly, it's just a part of the lore of the Shang-Chi realm, which is cool, and the way that it's displayed in it, and like the slight tours back into the past were probably the most interesting parts of this. Were the bits where Shang-Chi wasn't in it. Annoyingly. But I think the character of Shang-Chi that we get in it, I'm like, I can see, and obviously releasing last year, they probably took a lot of Simulou's performance and put it into this comic, at least what Disney let them see, because this feels like his character. It doesn't feel like the 1960s version of this character.
It's the reboot of this. Is the movie is coming out. Here's his character now. Here's what they are now. It's interesting you bring up like the history and being not sure about the mystical stuff. I'm going to jump into our fact section, comic curiosities, as we call it. But I'm going to do it the other way around to what we normally do, because the history of Shang-Chi as a character is quite interesting. Basically, he's been in comics for almost 50 years. He was initially created in 1972. There's a big he's got a lot of history in that period. Lots of racial controversies. His father was initially Fu Manchu, who is a big racist stereotype. Lots of problems. But if you want to go a bit more into depth on that history, one of my favorite comic YouTubers, who I think I've mentioned on this show before, Comic Drake, has a wonderful video that he just posted about it, which goes all in depth into the history of Shang-Chi. But basically, the thing you mentioned about Iron Fist is interesting, because what happened was Iron Fist basically started replacing the character in a bunch of comics past a certain point. So Shang-Chi was really popular during like the Kung Fu boom of the 70s and 80s. They were talking about doing a solo film like all the way back then with Bruce Lee's son as Shang-Chi and stuff.
That would have been sick.
But as that kind of died down, all the stuff that Shang-Chi was in, they started replacing it with Iron Fist. Very similar characters. And now they kind of seem to be trying to bring him back a little bit. Iron Fist obviously had the Netflix show, which is
definitely
canon.
Gave him a good out of like, we can just do the opposite. Let's replace the shit character with the good character again.
That's
totally. Quite funny. Wow.
But and even Shang-Chi was supposed to be in films like for ages. There was talks all the way from back in the 80s into the 90s, early 2000s. There was a film before the MCU was even a thought. There was close to getting one in the early 2000s. Then in the original slate of MCU films, when they bought a lot of the rights from Paramount, Shang-Chi was in that. The heroes that were in it were Captain America, Nick Fury, Doctor Strange, Hawkeye, Black Panther, Cloak and Dagger, and Power Pack. Power Pack's a very interesting one.
He just won't let go of Power Pack. That
man. I've read like a couple of Power Pack comics, and I'm like, why do you want this? But remarkably, given that he has all that history, this is the first completely self-titled book, like just called Shang-Chi, that he's ever had. It's either been Master of Kung Fu, Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu, a bunch of other like Kung Fu related titles. This is the first time it's just been titled Shang-Chi. Yeah.
The hands of Shang-Chi.
There it is.
Yeah, Will's showing us one there. But basically, it's so he's a 50-year-old character that was very, very popular for a certain period. This is the first time there's been a Shang-Chi comic.
So crazy.
So yeah. In terms of the creators, it's cool because it's, again, a bunch of racist stereotypes in the past with this character, as you can expect from the periods in which it was created and stuff. But obviously they're kind of trying to rejig the origins a bit. I think add more mystical stuff, as you said. And so they've got a fully Asian American creative team on this. So the writer is Jean Luen Yang. I might butcher some pronunciations in this episode. I apologize in advance, but I'm going to do my best. So he worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender comics between 2012 and 2017. He also did some work on Batman and Superman. He was a lead writer on a series called New Superman about a Chinese Superman for DC, which I didn't know was a thing. And then he did a follow-up called New Superman Justice League of China, which had a bunch of Chinese versions of Justice League heroes.
Very cool.
That's cool.
And then the other cool thing he did, which is kind of, you can see later in these comics, he did a couple novels set during the Boxer Uprising, which they mention in like issue 3 or something, which is basically when it was a real world event and like 1899 or something. A bunch of Western nations basically invaded China, take over a bunch of their resources and stuff. So that's his background. We have 2 artists for this one, and the way that split is actually quite interesting because you'll notice in almost every issue of this comic there's a flashback. Yeah. So Philip Tan is the flashback artist for this one. He is best known for Spawn, Uncanny X-Men, and Iron Man, and he's also done some Magic the Gathering cool. card art, which is very cool. And then Dyke Ruan does the main rest of the art. So they basically split it almost 50-50 because there's a lot of flashback content in this.
That's such a cool way to do it.
Yeah, totally. So you'll notice in a lot of these comics that it's actually like the way the art is split is quite unique. There's definitely a change in style as they jump between things.
The kind of flashback segments which is probably why I felt like or thought that it was always part of the origin. It looks like 60s comics, or it looks like the way that they always draw 60s comics in modern runs when they're like, this moment happened to Spider-Man in issue 12 or something. It is always drawn in this way that twigs your mind that it's from an old comic, but it isn't. It's obviously not how they were drawn because they were so stark. But there's a style to them. It's almost like all the art in Life Story looks like an old comic.
Yeah, totally. They did a very good job kind of keeping the art like cohesive enough within the issues while still having that point of difference. I'll point it out later because I think Joshi in one of his comments talked about that and talked about how the art kind of weirdly changed in between. But yeah, and so Philip Tan, the flashback artist, Dyke Ruan, that has done the other stuff, and he's pretty new to the industry. He's just done various like single issues of like Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, Black Cat, so primarily in that area of things. And then finally, the cover artist, Jim Chung, mostly worked with Marvel, but he's worked on so many different comics. I'm not going to bother listing any of them. Basically, you think of a Marvel property, he's probably done a cover or something for it at some point since like the mid-1990s. So he's a long-term Marvel collaborator. So I think it's kind of cool that they got like basically a bunch of different levels of previous involvement with Marvel, all Asian American, to come together on this one project. Very, very cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice.
So let's jump into issue 1, shall we? We start off with the first flashback in the Tianjin prefecture in China in the early Qing dynasty. I looked up how to pronounce that one because I really wasn't sure. And we start off and we got one of my favorite Marvel characters, which is Fin Fang Foom.
Yes. Big bloody dragon.
I love that big dragon.
First scene in Iron Man 1 on a billboard that's incredibly blurred.
Yeah, totally. There's been a lot of rumors he'll show up in the movie. I hope he shows up at some point. But he always toes this weird line between being like a really weird, quirky character in Marvel stuff and being like an actual evil dragon. So
is Fin Fang Foom not the thing underwater?
It possibly in the trailers.
A different dragon though, because he doesn't quite look like Fin Fang Foom.
Sure.
He doesn't look green.
he's also in MODOK. He serves at a restaurant very briefly, and then MODOK flies.
True.
He's a cool character. I love Fin Fang Foom.
Also, I feel like the idea of he toes the line is every single Marvel character.
Oh, totally.
No Marvel character is ever serious 100% of the time.
Yeah.
They'll show up and you'll be like, you're supposed to be evil. Like Thanos in What If. You can do whatever you want with these characters. But I get you.
Yeah, totally. And then we also get an intro into the 5 Weapons Society, which is the core of most of these issues. So we have, let's see if I can list them all. We got the hand, got the staff, we got the hammer, I was going to say knives, it's daggers.
Dagger.
Hand, staff, hammer, dagger. Oh, it's that. It's the brother, Saber.
There you go. Yeah, nice.
Very good. So there's the 5. We have like the old version here. And then Master... Okay. I'm sorry. Master Zheng Yi and Zheng Zhu. Possibly correct. So basically, the society defended the people of China for centuries. We learned that. But then we also learned that Zheng Zhu was killed by Shang-Chi. And then we cut to the House of the Deadly Staff, hidden outside London, a week before Lunar New Year. Basically... we have an introduction where we have a little battle, a little confrontation between Sister Hammer and Master Staff. Oh man, this is going to be a tricky one. I'm just... Lots of similar but slightly different weapons in this.
Yeah.
So Sister Hammer and Master Staff.
Can we just use their weapons? We just call them hammer, staff.
Yep.
Shang-Chi can just be Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
No, Shang-Chi can be
He is hand. Hand.
From here on, he will be hand. He will not be Shang-Chi.
Which is confusing because, it's stick in Daredevil. But...
Stick. Lots of...
I'm excited for us to just refer to the film as just hand from now
we'll do a
on.
podcast.
Totally.
Just called hand.
So basically... where was I going? Oh, yeah. So basically, we get Hammer... she comes in, it's like, grr, I don't like you, staff guy, whacks him. And then at one point, staff guy pulls out a hidden knife out of his staff, Assassin's Creed style, which I feel like is kind of cheating for someone, for like the House of Staff. Shouldn't you use new staff?
Pick a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You get one weapon. You're named after one weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your name is Staff now.
Your name is Staff.
You're not allowed to have anything else.
Yeah. And then I think the hammer swings at Staff and it apparently liquefies his organs instantly, which is setting the tone. It's a pretty brutal, bloody comic. Surprisingly, so I hadn't mentioned this before. I've actually read this comic before we did this comic cast. I read it earlier in the year. I forgot it was this brutal. It's
there's lots of like half heads and stuff in a frame.
Lots of decapitations, lots of those kind of things. But yeah, we find out that the torch of the deadly staff is extinguished and the hand is lit up. I wonder who the hand is. Any idea?
Hand.
Joshy wrote in a couple notes. The memorial shrine they bring up looks like a socket bop it light up kids toy, which it really does. Give us the Shang-Chi bop it. I got my little. It doesn't have batteries on it, but I got a little BB-8 bop it here.
Nice.
But I want one of Simular's torso.
Yeah.
Twist it. Ah.
Oh dear.
I'm sure a lot of people would love Simular's torso.
A lot of people would. He's a sexy man and a nice man.
Sexy man. Yeah.
Yeah. I like a sexy and a nice man.
Like just follow. The man is just very sexy. Like just like go for his Twitter.
Yeah.
It's like it's the type of nerd that you go fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How do you
have time to be a nerd and also have a body like that?
It's not fair. And he just tweeted to get in a Marvel movie. He didn't even try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tweet to get in a Marvel movie. But I won't get in one.
Let's give it a go.
Give it a go. And Dolphin Pants did make a comment here. It was like, Supreme Commander of the 5 weapons, you don't want to learn to use a gun, which a common theme across this. They're not a fan of guns. When you pick 5 weapons, maybe like evolve it over time. Think about maybe adding some stuff, greenlighting some weapons. Greenlighting some weapons. Like, do like a Volvo. I've been playing a bit of Destiny, like put some weapons out of the rotation, put some new ones in, you know.
Really? New roster.
It's fine. We learn that some stuff is better than others.
Maybe at least let Hand actually have a weapon.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything in his hand. It's the OP weapon.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Then we jump to San Francisco after we learned that there is a Hand. And then we meet Hand, who's using his powers to wrap presents.
Yeah, real fast.
A bakery. It's like wrapping baked goods.
Wrapping baked goods. Yeah, I mean, I would use this power. I would like to have his powers for like a day a year, just the day before Christmas.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really care for them. But knowing he can do this that fast, it's nice.
Good.
We meet the Grandma Wang who runs the bakery that he works in. She's just she's lovely until she says a woman walked in who Shang-Chi kind of flirts with a little bit. Oh, sorry, I said Shang-Chi. Hand kind of flirts with a bit. And then Grandma Wang says Delilah's skin looks like tree bark.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do that?
Yeah.
I feel like this is sort of a bit of a stereotypical thing.
Yeah.
With Asian ethnicities.
Yeah, totally.
Especially within family.
Yeah.
Like, the elder people in the family.
Yeah.
Are allowed to just trash talk, whether they realize how rude they're being or not.
Yeah. And I think it's not. I think my problem with it here was it wasn't very clear. I think Delilah is Grandma Wang's like niece or something. Yeah. But it wasn't very clear at this point. So I was like, you're just insulting this woman.
That's quite intense.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, I just like this little introduction to Hand. It's nice. Then we learn that he has another ex-girlfriend. And they talk for a little bit about some stuff. Lots of words. This is the first point I feel like in this when we're starting to realize lots of words. How do we feel about the lots of words?
Okay.
I'm a slow reader, so it took a while. But it was nice to have, 8 hours of standing around in a storm outside to get through this. Time well spent. But I think that was one of the first things I said to Will as well when I found out he hadn't read it yet. It was just like, it's a lot of dialogue.
Get going.
I didn't. I started reading it an hour and a half ago. I think it's good. I think it's fairly well written dialogue, but as you kind of said, Ben, before I think we started recording, there's a lot of doubling up of things. I think there's a lot of like reinforcing points, which in a 300-page book, that's cool because it's like I'll probably have forgotten that piece of information by the time I need it again. It gets reinforced like every couple of pages. It's like I get it, as we'll get to, like the familiar relationships, they just keep telling you, and it's like I understand. It's fine. Let's just hit someone.
A lot of constant references back to the ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
I think when it gets well written, it's well written, but there's a lot of easy to cut dialogue, I think.
I think I mentioned to these guys, as we said before the recording, that like the first time I read it, I think it was helpful. And also because the first time I read it, I was just reading it as it dropped on Marvel Unlimited. So I was reading it like every month or so. So it was like good, like I didn't really notice that as much because it's like good to recap, which is one of those weird issues with comics sometimes is that they're both designed to be read in a group together, but also like a month apart. So it can be hard to hit that sweet spot, and I don't think they quite nailed it here. But as you say, it's pretty well written, and it there's enough. I feel like often there's enough breaks in between the action and the dialogue, as we get to in a second when a bunch of ninjas, I think, or some kind of fighters.
Definitely not hand. The hand. Definitely not. Wait, it's not the hand.
This guy has nunchucks.
Yep.
but yeah, no, I do really like how this action looks. There's good fights across all the issues. They use like the movement lines really well and onomatopoeia really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think these fights look delightful.
Yeah.
Oh, she's got a gun there. Yeah, she uses a gun there.
She's with MI6.
Yeah, she's just an agent. She can use guns.
She's Shang-Chi's ex-girlfriend from MI6. Yeah. And yeah, so I do like how they do the fights. I just for something that's about like martial arts and stuff, I almost feel like there's not enough fighting.
Yeah. And as visually appealing as this is, I don't know if it highlights the action all that well. Yeah, like so much of martial arts is in the full body of what they're doing, and this is so fist connects with face, and it's like, okay, cool. But what?
Yeah, it's a lot of close quarters shots.
So, and I don't remember. I don't think it ever really gets to showcase it more. But we'll see.
Yeah. It's kind of what we were saying to start with. Like, there's a lot more dialogue and a lot less fighting than we were expecting.
Yeah, and it's interesting kind of pulling it back to Black Widow, which we did 2 months ago. And that did a similar thing. Well, it did, I think, what this comic should have done, where all that action was very, very well choreographed. I guess that's not like, but yeah, it was very well like. It was deliberately drawn so that you could see the techniques. I don't know. Framed, maybe. Displayed. I feel like that did a bit better of a job of this. I will say the best part of all these issues is the onomatopoeia, because it is some of the more descriptive onomatopoeia, I will say. And as you can see on this screen, there's like 4 or 5 different words that they use.
I'm just looking at it to make sure for listeners, just making sure there's no shape that it's forming like in Suicide Squad.
Yes.
There's no shape going on there. No, I think that's all.
It's forming a parallelogram.
Yeah.
And a trapezium.
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember shapes that well. It's been a while since.
There's an isosceles in there.
There's an isosceles. But yeah, no. For audio listeners, we've got some crash, whoosh, blam, blam, whap, smack, whoomp, clap, blam, whoomp. So we got some good onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
crash with a K as well.
Crash with a K. That is true.
Universe Bandicoot.
So much exposition for a bunch of the rest of these pages. Then we end on a lovely final shot of the comic, I will say, which is hand and hammer juxtaposed against each other. And Shang-Chi is saying, Hand is saying, I have to save my little sister. And Hammer is saying, I have to kill my big brother.
There you go.
What's going to happen there?
I guess this is where I jump in and probably should have prepared to do an overview of the whole story, because I don't think we jumped in and really explained that when Hammer killed spear? No. What's the stick?
Scepter.
Not scepter.
Staff.
Staff. Thank you. Stick. Wrong character. And they saw that the hand, the candle thing,
the candle,
that's it.
The hand candle on the bottle
had lit up. She was like, "No, this is mine. Like, I should be running the Legion of the Weapons, whatever they're called." So her aim is to kill Hand because she believes that she should be running this. And he thinks that she's in danger because he thinks that these people are after her. I think at this point.
So Josh, once again, running through the plot when I forget to mention any of it.
It's all good, man. I'll be more prepared next time to do it at the start.
No, we're gonna tweak it around next time. But I was a bit stupid and forgot to warn Josh that I was gonna make him do that. So he had none of it prepared. But it's fine. We'll just move on to issue 2. And
I just quickly say, happened. I'm just like, when this hit, I was like, oh, God damn it, another one. It's another brother and sister. It's another sibling rival. I was like, I think that, I mean, this one's pretty good, but it's just like, it's the same. It's like Star Wars and comic books. It's like, why is everyone either related or fucking? It's like, can't they just exist? Like, why is everyone so entangled? Like, everyone Shang-Chi meets in this is either a brother or is someone he's had sex with or is going to have sex with them. Yeah. Like,
I was going to say, what about Thanos? But you've got Gamora and Nebula. They're basically family as well.
And the whole Black Order, which he considers basically his children as well. Yep. It's like, everyone is so related.
In my brain, I was like, Gamora and Nebula fucking? Is that? No.
I'm sure it's out there.
Yeah, look, we've had a lot of media with incest recently, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's move on.
But yeah, moving. No, it's interesting that you mentioned it because I quite like them bringing in the family side of it to Shang-Chi. As I mentioned, he didn't have like a lot of characterization. I feel in some of his older stuff beyond being like the kung fu guy. So I feel like bringing this element into his character is like his new origin kind of. It adds something nice,
and it's like it's such a cultural thing as well. Like there's such a reliance or an importance on family in a lot of Asian culture. So
totally,
I get that as well.
And in Vin Diesel culture,
it's true. Yeah. It's important. It's more just like a general comment. It wouldn't be so annoying if it wasn't so prevalent in everything. I guess is the thing.
Yeah, just every Marvel. All the Marvel.
Everyone's got either your mum's dead or your brother's annoying in Marvel. That's it.
Or the person you're sleeping with is gonna turn into Thor soon. I don't know. I could only think of one partner in Marvel. It was Jane Foster, and I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna go with this, but I'm gonna keep going.
That's good. That's good. So you landed.
I landed it pretty well, I think.
Let's land in issue 2.
Let's land in issue 2. It's going to make me say another name again. Zhang Zhu's Hunan retreat 15 years ago. Basically, it's a flashback to when Hand and Hammer were children under their father. And we find out young Hand, bit of an asshole, kind of is just leading young Hammer around everywhere. In trying to get her into trouble.
Kind of cheeky kids being kids, I guess.
Cheeky kids being kids, but it's really like Hand
and the older brother. Work. Yeah, the older brother kind of leading them.
And Hammer's like, no, I don't want to do it. And then they end up in a room with bodies and with tubes attached, which, if I know anything about media, nothing's going to go wrong there.
Yeah, and they won't come back at any point.
Not going to come back at any point.
Definitely not.
Sure. I do like this flashback mainly because it puts the father, the way they did the art in this, puts the father in shadow a lot of the time. And it really sets him up as like a really bad, evil guy. Which they weirdly walk back in a couple issues, but then also kind of don't. We'll talk about that a bit later. But I like how he's set up here.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say that Hand, going to say his name. Yeah. Hand does claim the bad stuff that he's done, and he does try and get his sister out of it because he does go, no, this is on me. This is I did this. Leave her out of it. Yeah. So he does come back around.
Take responsibility. He's like he's like a good older brother who's still gonna try and rope you in, but then it's like, well, it was my fault.
It was my fault.
But the dad is doesn't like Hammer very much at all.
Yeah, very Odin in his punishments.
Yeah,
I kind of wonder whether it's is it a male female kind of thing?
I get that feeling. Again, it's like it's not a culture I'm as familiar with.
And
I think it's nice because it's clearly being written from an Asian American perspective, so it could be that. But like I don't have as many of those insights. But I get that's definitely the vibe I get. That is it's prevalent across all cultures, I guess. But definitely on this scenario, that's the vibe I got. Anyway, we moved to outside of London.
Current day?
London. Yes.
Bloody London.
Weird choice for this scene because when we actually see this scene, it doesn't really feel like it's in London. It's very like snowy and stuff. I'm going to bring it up here. Does this look like anywhere near London to you?
It looks like
Russia
a temple.
or something.
Yeah, like a generic forest.
Yeah.
Nearly everywhere they go doesn't seem like that place.
Yeah, totally.
Like there's a point where they go to Paris, but they're in a mansion behind a waterfall in a mountain.
Yeah.
In Paris.
Or even like
what?
The San Francisco stuff feels like not San Francisco. Like it's so dense and tight and narrow that it feels like, I don't know, it just didn't
It's more like New York or something.
San Francisco is very dense and tight and narrow as someone who's been there. But I will say, it did feel like they were like just putting him in San Francisco because, the movie's putting him there.
That's fair.
Yeah. I don't know that much of his history about where he's normally based, but it did very much feel like that.
There's a choice.
I hope he works in a bakery.
I want to see him putting some boxes away.
You want to see him doing this real fast?
Yeah. Please.
Cool. Yeah. But yeah, I brought this up because Josh in our Discord said that he loved the binocular-shaped little panel here, which I didn't notice on the first looking. But yeah, that's a guy's looking through the binoculars, and then we have the view through the binoculars shaped in a nice.
That's very cute.
Panel. It's very cute.
Good catch, Joshy.
Yeah, very good. And I'm going to move on to the next page as well, right after this, because I love. Oh no, not this one. This one. Because I love how they set up Shang-Chi's powers in this, and how they make them feel interesting. Sorry, hand, because as we mentioned, it's just hand. And so, but like in this, it feels like he's not real. Like that's not really just what it is. It's almost like he's like it's a level of dexterity and speed and stuff, which comes out in like the hand-to-hand combat, but it's like it's a bit more than just hand. He may be hand, but he uses a bit more than his hands. He uses wits. He can sense people breathing even.
Totally.
Yeah. So I like that his powers feel like a bit more than just that. Although I'm not really sure, are they powers or if he's just really good at
heightened sense. I get.
It might just be like martial arts training, like really deep, like intense martial arts training, ninja type skills.
It's almost like there's a baseline move set for anyone, like Daredevil, Iron Fist, like kind of how like mutants all have kind of one ability they all share. It's maybe heightened sense.
All mutants are psychics. I'm pretty sure.
Somehow they always end up psychic. Man, the day I found out Scarlet Witch was as well, it's like what can't she do?
Yeah.
What's left?
Yeah, I just can't wait till we get Jean Grey in the MCU and it's literally like, what can't she do? Like, she can literally do everything.
Turns into a bird.
Yeah. But yeah, back to Shang-Chi. We find out that he can punch through a mace in this as well.
That show was sick.
Smashes right through a mace.
I had to keep looking at the shape of the helmets of people because I was like, is that someone's skull?
Yeah. Judging
a lot of grey matter inside.
Could have been. But yeah, it would have been a bit weird to have a grey interior to a skull. Maybe they just got a grey brain. Our brains are a bit grey.
They're a bit grey.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's good, like good weighty fights. I do like the clangs and the whoops and the
big old clang
here again.
Big old one.
Clang with a K. Always K. Why do they replace everything with a K?
Because it's clang. It's not clang. It's clang.
Clang.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta get it like in the back of the throat.
Yeah.
Clang.
Yeah.
Clang.
It's heavier.
Okay.
That's what I think. Or they're just tling to be cool, like back in high school when we were all like cool with the K because it's cool.
Pizza with 2 3s.
Yeah. Fine. That joke did not land. Anyway, moving on to
good thing I got a wipe.
Good wipe. We love a wipe. Make sure to wipe your bottom when you do a poo. Just saying.
Make sure you wipe.
Just came to my brain.
Advice.
Based on the use of the wipe.
That's good. This is going to be the internet clip.
Shang-Chi
to advertise this.
Shang-Chi might need to, in fact, take a shit after what he's about to do, because he has some crystal cakes and he's very happy about them. And like, it's all going too happy and stuff based on what was set up in the last issue.
And this is actually what they were looking for when they were kids.
Yeah, they were looking for crystal cakes. That's true.
In that flashback, they were trying to find hidden crystal cakes when they found the zombies.
Yeah, totally. And so, like, they're very happy for a second. You're like, this is not going to last. And then very quickly we learn those poison cakes were in fact poisoned. Shang-Chi will in fact need to take a really big shit and wipe properly. And so then he kind of like faints. And then we get giant mystical skull guy in traditional outfit, and we're like, who is this? I wonder who this could be. And that's basically I was going to say that's basically the end of the issue, but it's not, because then he wakes up and then he's underground somewhere, and then there's weird zombie vampire things. Will's really struggling to get that piece of hair off his head right now.
That's fine.
And there's weird zombie vampires called Shang-Chi. I'm going to have to say this one a lot, so hopefully I got that right. Not also very close to Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yeah.
It is. We could just say zombie vampires.
Zombie vampires. Yeah. I want to try. But at the same time, we've bailed on saying Shang-Chi at all. So
it's
the one thing I actually do know how to pronounce, ironically, is the one thing we won't talk about.
That's it.
Anyway.
We're just whitewashing this whole series.
Yeah. We are the worst. We won't even want to say hand.
Yeah. To be fair, most of the other ones' names are like, there's like Esme and stuff. Some of them have some pretty anglicized names.
That's true.
But yeah, there's a line that I really like here, and it's kind of accompanied by a panel, which is about a zombie chasing his hand, because common zombie trope is that the hand is still active after it gets cut off.
Yep.
And Shang-Chi's like, what? When one of them chases after his own hand, I assume it's because he missed it. Which I just like. I just like the idea that he thought he missed the hand. And then in a second, we learned that he didn't in fact miss the hand. He was going to use it as a weapon.
Yeah.
So hand gets injured by a literal hand.
There
you go.
Justice. And get some nice sparkling blood.
Yeah.
Very.
This was kind of a weird thing throughout this series.
Yeah.
That he doesn't bleed. He bleeds space.
Well, I think it's specifically because of this.
Because of the weird spiritual stuff.
But I guess it's like, I feel like it's not really all that explained. Like,
that's true.
These zombies seem to be zombies through science. Like when they were kids, they were hooked up to machines with pipes and stuff. It wasn't magic. It's not like magic that's creating them. So why are they bleeding space? Well, yes,
but also no, because
galaxy blood.
It does seem like science, but then we'll get to it in some of the future issues. The explanations they have for it, which I think are actual like Chinese cultural things, are very much not scientific. The way they defeat them, which I can't remember, but I'm sure we'll chat about it later, is brilliant.
Because they seem to, all these things seem to be in machines with like big sort of circles around them, almost like a big MRI machine or something.
Yeah, totally. But I just like how it looks. The sparkle blood looks cool. Looks like a little galaxy.
Cool. It looks like that cosmic Spider-Man that has like the cosmic part. Like he's got like stars that are constantly moving throughout his head and stuff.
Yeah,
it looks like the
Fortnite skin.
I was going to say looks like the Fortnite skin, the Raven skin in Fortnite as well has that effect with all the stuff on the back, and it's cool. Fortnite's great. Can't go a comic cast without talking about Fortnite. What we will talk about now is issue 3.
Yes.
Which I spoiled it a little bit earlier, but Dolphin Pants has a note at the start of this issue, which is that these little main character headshots, very nice. More comics should do this. I agree with Dolphin Pants on this. He mentions that Strange Academy does it, which is a very good comic that I've read and he's been reading recently. Which kind of actually shows you who the characters are. Very helpful. X-Men does it a lot now as well.
Yeah.
Any comic should just do this, because it's so much easier to know who the characters are from this point in the comic than have to go Googling through like 10 Wikipedias because someone mentioned a name.
Yeah, I remember reading through a bunch of the is it all new, all different? Marvel Now. When they did the rebrand in like 2011-ish.
One of them.
Yeah, a lot of the comics had this sort of thing, or they would have all of the characters in that, like maybe all of the Avengers that were Avengers at that point in time, and the only ones that would be colored would be the ones that existed in that issue and would appear in that issue.
Yeah, cool.
So they would have 15 different characters on the front, but they would be highlighting the ones that you would actually see in this issue, which was a really, really cool way to do it.
Yeah. Also, that's it. Just actually show me who's in your comic and like with their name, please. That's all I ask, because the amount of times I read a lot of comics and the amount of times I just have to like quickly stop and be like, okay, who's this? Even me, someone who knows like a decent, like more than the average person of Marvel lore, I'm still like every now and then just completely confounded by what they supply me. So yeah, this is very cool. I think a lot more comics are seeming to do it now, so I hope this trend continues. But in the actual comic, we start in Peking. That's one I do know how to say.
At the end of issue 2, is that where he like escapes and then he gets picked up by 2 people?
That's when he was on the boat pleading, I think.
Yeah, but at that point he's with Saber and Dagger, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Josh,
okay.
Josh with the plot. We need to come up with
his
Josh logo for the plot.
His dad says something that's like, "Come here," or so. It's very like direct and not very spiritual. He's just like, come now, or something, and it's just like, come to me, and it's just like the way the way I read it, I was just like, this doesn't sound like a metaphysical god.
It could have been more mystical and interesting. But Shang-Chi escapes at the end of issue 2, escapes the basement wherever he is and all the zombies while he's bleeding, but then he kind of somewhat passes out somehow because of all the bleeding the galaxy out of his chest. And when he comes to, he's on a boat, but he can see his father in some sort of spiritual form, or some sort of
father at this point. It's like a big.
Yeah, I feel like it's like assumed, but unsure.
I think it's kind of like father.
This is what he says. Yeah. This is what I mean. It's not even come to me or come. He says this. He says it won't come up. Come visit.
Yeah.
It's like come on over, buddy. Yeah. Hey, come on over. Come visit is the 2 words.
That I feel like that's what a traditional like Chinese grandma would say to their child, like
not a crazy god man.
Come visit.
But it's also like not particular, like it's just not helpful. It's just like come visit. It's like where? How? Why?
Do I stick my head into my wound? Is that how I get to you?
Do I stab myself more? Like, how do I get to this realm? What's going on?
Cover myself in my space blood.
It's not his dad or not dad, as we find out soon, not making it easy for him. But
thanks.
Josh with the plot. Thanks again, Josh. Going back to issue 3.
It'll get better. It'll be easier.
It'll get better. No, that's what I'm saying. We need like a Josh does the plot. Josh loses the plot, but he wins it. We need something like that. Josh lost the plot.
Yeah.
It's
a good one.
That's good. We'll work on that, but we're getting somewhere with that. Anyway, Peking, China, the year 1900. This is what I talked about earlier. This is the 8 Nations invasion, or the Boxer.
Is this where the duck comes from?
Yeah, this is where the to be fair, it's not a style. It's not the duck specifically. It's a way of eating duck. I didn't actually know this till earlier in the year.
Like bacon.
But my sister, my partner's sister's partner is Chinese and taught us all how to eat Peking duck recently. But yeah, it's the way of eating it. It's like rolling it up in a certain way in certain sauces and stuff. Very cool.
Oh, okay.
If you never had Peking duck properly, I highly recommend it. It's very, very tasty. But yes, this is where it originated. This is also, as I said, the Boxer Uprising thing that I mentioned this writer had written like books on. So I like that he kind of managed to tie it in. He's got a good way of tying in clearly Chinese history into this comic and kind of bringing in all those aspects of like Western intervention and stuff as well, which I did really like. I just thought this particular page of art was lovely. The like Mandarin characters or Cantonese, I'm not sure. Again, I apologize. That are like superimposed over the sky. I thought looks very cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, we learn a bit about these the 8 nations invasion or the Boxer Uprising, depending which country you're from. It's called different things, and how the 5 Weapon Society helped protect the Chinese rebels against the other countries. So basically, it was like 8 nations that came to invade, and there was a bunch of rebels tried to fight against them. And in the Marvel lore, the 5 weapons helped them. So that's very cool. And then we learned that shock horror asshole dad murdered his brother. Couldn't have seen that coming.
There you go.
Yeah.
Surprise.
It's like, again, it's a comic trope. It's a comic trope that it's always a family member murdering another family member or something.
Will's favorite. It's always family.
Yeah, it's always family. It's all about family.
All about family.
But yeah, I think Joshi had an interesting note here, which was the head is kind of like floating to the side, next to the guy in this. But would actual physics make a head be in that position after severing? Like, I feel like I'm not an expert on slicing through heads, but I feel like you slice through a head right, and then it just kind of like flops off. I feel like it goes that spectacularly away.
Yeah, and from what I know about like traditional
slicing off heads,
from what I know about like katanas, like traditional katanas, they are sharpened to a point where you can just like cut through paper like very, very easily. Like they are insanely sharp. Yeah. And so there wouldn't be much like force kind of pushing ahead in the direction.
Anything.
Yeah. It would be like that the dumb sort of like, you know, you cut and the person's like, and then their head like slides off.
Yeah.
It would almost be like that, but it would probably fall off faster, obviously. But yeah, I can't imagine there being force like that.
Yeah, it is quite funny now that I think about it. Just like also the facial expression that the head has. It's wonderful.
Oh no!
Then we have this like little bit of exposition at the bottom of this page as well, which I'm also going to chat about, because it's like, so basically what we learn is that the 5 Weapons Society over time split up all their houses into different areas in these countries from that uprising to kind of like keep tabs on them and stuff. And I don't know if either of you had read Matthew Riley's stuff, but basically he writes a lot about like he sets it in the modern world, but has a lot of like underground secret society stuff a lot of the time, or like he's like trying to uncover like the 7 ancient wonders and stuff, but in like a modern world and what they would actually be versus what like the myths say them to be and stuff. So I don't know, anyone who is listening to this and has read Matthew Riley, let me know if you agree. I feel like a lot of these comics feel very much like they're a Matthew Riley style story, which I thought was very cool as someone who grew up reading a lot of that. But yeah, then we go to, we learn about there's 4 of these places, and then the 5th one is the House of the Deadly Dagger, which is in Paris, France, famously where Dagger lives.
Famously, that's what Paris is famous for.
Famously,
you think it's the tower, but it's Dagger.
Famously famous for daggers, and the Louvre, which gets a mention.
The Louvre.
Family have a fight at the Louvre.
Yeah.
Again, doesn't really look like the Louvre. Even when they go to the Louvre, there's nothing really obvious that it's the Louvre. Yeah.
It's a low budget comic, this one.
Yeah. But this was the point where
can't even afford to draw the right locations.
Can't even afford to draw a triangle. That's what the Louvre is. It's a triangle.
It's true. Big glass triangle.
Big glass triangle. And then we learn how to stop the Jiangxi, which is wonderful. This has to be something in like Chinese culture or something.
Surely.
But the description is amazing. It's paper amulets marked by chicken blood straight to the forehead. And they're just so in all these fights, what they end up doing is holding these pieces of paper and going like,
just slapping a forehead.
Slapping a forehead.
It's throwing cheese at little babies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like
covered in chicken blood, of course.
Yeah,
it's covered. No, not covered. Marked by.
Marked by.
They're clearly not like covered. I don't know. I just love how random it is, and again, I'm sure it has some basis, but it's like it's actually really cool to me that they use this particular thing, and they were like, no, we're gonna use the weird.
We're going all in.
Weird cultural stuff that we know about. Even if not, I feel like it's probably like, even if it's not a specific thing, it's probably stooped in some used thing in the past. While you look that up, Shang-Chi starts looking at the wound he had from the hand in the previous issue. It's getting crusty and white. If you don't like crusty white scabs, that's bad. No. And we also get a look at Shang-Chi's new costume, which is very cool. It seems kind of similar to the movie costume, but it's got some nice little notes of gold and green. I don't know. I'm not a fashion expert.
I feel like it's got more color than the MCU one, which is definitely annoying.
That's just the MCU. That's always
just
the
like
case,
to go. It's this and it's black, and that is it.
And let's just turn the hue.
A color.
Let's just make the hue a bit darker as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Has to be a maroon. It can't be a red.
But I will say, for a lot of this issue, my eyes kind of glazed over. There was a lot of words in issue 3. Yeah. A lot of words.
I found out what the thing is. Yes. Yeah. Mm. So, this is based on. So I think someone online basically says, why is there red streaked paper fluttering from tombs and gravestones in Chinese graveyards today? And that day apparently was King Ming, so Qingming, which is the day when Chinese people visit the graves of departed loved ones to pay their respects. Yeah. And traditionally, the red from these things came from chicken's blood, or roosters preferably, apparently. But I think they're just printed now. And these are hung on graves to create a barrier against negative energies or unwanted souls.
There you go.
There it is.
Yeah,
kind of makes sense. Yeah,
kinda so it's I think the actual description is a couple issues, but it links very nicely into that kind of like a spiritual barrier kind of thing. Yeah,
and then the next quote from someone, a local feng shui master, says the paper acts like a talisman. These are referred to as paper talismans.
Yeah.
Protecting the living from stopping angry spirits from disturbing the ancestral worship. So yeah, it's definitely a spiritual thing.
That's so cool. That is genuinely like the benefit of getting like creators with the actual background to like do this kind of stuff. Like I know it sounds a bit dumb in like 2021 saying it, but it's only a recent thing that we're actually getting like people of the correct backgrounds to actually be involved in the comics and stuff.
It's a similar vein to like in fandom, kind of getting people that are nerds of things, like having Favreau and Filoni doing Star Wars. It's like they know they can put that thing over there, and that will be interesting because it relates to this other thing. It's like it's like having knowledge and having an expertise in the thing you're creating. It's good.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's kind of issue 3. As I said, a lot of exposition. They fight in the Louvre. The best part is when we learn about this paper, which we just learn even more about from Josh.
So cool. Yeah, it was great.
I don't know.
Issue 3 was the one that I was like, oh god, is the story over? Like, was it just those first 2, or is there
I feel
more?
so similarly because I was like, I was reading through this today, and I read it before as well, so it wasn't even like I didn't even think it'd be that hard of a read, but I got through it and I was like, man, do we like? Can I do this? Like,
this may have actually been the point where I stopped reading In the Storm as well, and put my phone away and just went, I'm just going to look around for a while. I've been standing here for an hour and a half, but like, it's nothing new to see.
Totally. Totally.
But inspire with yourself.
I will say that I feel like they pick it back up in issue 4. Just before we go to issue 4, Josh losing the plot. Did we lose any plot this time?
I can't remember.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't remember much about that issue. To be honest, I think it's. I think that's
lose
fine.
The plot. Amazing. Oh,
that's it. We did it, everybody.
We've made it into a segment.
Maybe I lost it.
That's how you do podcasts. Issue 4. Going to bring out the cover because this is my favorite.
That is
cover.
A sick cover.
I don't know. Oh, now I know what this is. I was like, I don't know what this is. It's the monster in this issue, the weird manticore kind of looking thing.
With all the hands.
Wasn't sure exactly what it was with the hands, but this is like a
real
very
handsy.
Very handsy. This is a very stylized kind of version of that. I think it looks wonderful. There's a lot of good covers. I wasn't going to spotlight them all, but I just wanted to bring this one up in particular because I thought this was my favorite.
Yeah, there's a lot. I love the green on gold. There's a lot of gold. Totally. Like the cuffs of the whatever the monster is wearing, plus his head, his skull, kind of thing, and Shang-Chi's soles of his shoes.
Even just the way they framed like his green pants against the other green, they've done it very well. Where it's like, it's not like what's the word?
Like blending in.
Yeah, it's not like contrasting too heavily. Like they've framed it all very nicely and composed it very nicely. It's a very lovely cover.
And yet there isn't a single good Shang-Chi poster. So for the film, every single one of them are horrible.
Yeah. Just get Will to do your posters.
There you go.
And I'll do them before you even know you need them.
Exactly. He'll do them, and then you can reveal the trailer in the middle of him doing them.
Easy.
Like, what's not to love?
I'm ready.
But yeah, so shout out to Jim Chung, who we mentioned earlier, for this cover. Very, very good. I mean, honestly, all of them were good, but as I said, I just wanted to bring this one up in particular because I thought it was very pretty. All right, so this time, so our flashback is in the second half in this issue. They start changing things up. So we start in the Henan province in China. I think they climb through like some mountains and stuff. Joshy points out there's references to YouTube and very specific food items and stuff. They're really trying to get to place it in time. My favorite part of reading like 2010s and 2020s comics is them being like YouTube, social media. It's especially prevalent in the Champions comics, which are like obviously like the kids of Marvel. Not even Zoomers, whatever the new one is. What's the new generation called? I feel like there's always like a 10-year gap before we work out what the previous one's called.
Little shits.
Yeah, right.
Little shits. There you go. You heard it from Will first. I'm sure they'll catch on.
That's what they're called.
But yeah, no. So they're definitely trying to ground it, which is fine. I get it. He's coming into the 21st century. They watch YouTube. Cool. But then we get to what's actually cool, which is this weird looking beastie thing. Got a long tongue, got some hands coming out of its neck. It's like a lion.
Do we know why they're here?
Why
did they come here?
So this is not an occasion where I think we've lost the plot. I think this is actually an occasion where they didn't say why they were here. But they're here.
It's like we end up kind of knowing why they're here, but we don't know why they know why they're there.
Yeah. So it's like I think at the end of issue 3, maybe we did lose a little bit of plot, but not too much, because they talk. It's very weird the way they actually phrase it. It's something like push, don't pull, or like push away, push here. It's very confusing. I think one of our listeners brought it up in their comments, which I didn't include in here, but it's very odd. Nothing is made clear that this is where they need to go at all. But anyway, then they just come here and it's the tomb of... they do reveal that it's actually Zheng Yu, not Zheng Ji, that is this weird ghost.
Yes.
Ghost thing.
It's like haunting hand.
Haunting the hand.
Telling him to come visit.
So they come to visit his grave. And this Manticore has some of the best lines across this entire comic. He says, here, first I eat your food, then I eat your bodies, then I eat your souls. Then right after that, he says, first I peel your skin, then I eat your face meat, yum yum. And later on in the comic, they come back to him and he says, yummy dummy human.
This is the thing you were saying about. I hope they make Fin Fang Foom really like serious. This is what he'll be like in the movie.
Yeah,
like
totally.
he will totally be, and he'll be voiced by. They'll like retcon Ben Kingsley. He was Fin Fang Foom the whole time, and it'll be Trevor's voice as Fin Fang Foom.
Please.
Yeah, my goodness. Oh, I forgot about Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3 for a second there.
Yeah. Yeah, why is he talking about Ben Kingsley?
Yeah, I was like, why Ben Kingsley? And I was like, oh, that's right. He's related to Shang-Chi now.
Yeah,
he's going to be in it. Yes, I'm excited.
He's in the film. That's good.
He's got to be.
I don't love Iron Man. Iron Man 3 easily the best Iron Man.
But you want that connective tissue.
And he is the best part of that film. And if you tell me if you think that was a bad twist, you're just wrong. I'm sorry, you're just wrong.
It's a great twist. It's so good.
Yeah. Especially since the one shot video that was released later reveals that there is a Mandarin.
Yeah.
So they're not totally changing who the Mandarin is.
Well, and I remember there was so much criticism leading up to that film. They're like, you're whitewashing this is bad. And I was like, yeah, that's true. That is bad. But then when they revealed in the film, I was like, oh, okay, no, that's fun. It's fun. It's cool. And I like that obviously now we get to see who the Mandarin is.
A real one.
Yeah.
And apparently it's very cool. But we won't be able to watch it till the middle of October.
It's right. I downloaded Snake Eyes thinking it was the Shang-Chi just because the poster looked the same. I was like, yes! Oh, wait, hang on.
You're going for a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes versus like a 96% or something.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Will, you might not quite get what you want.
I'm surprised your noise just then made it through Discord, to be honest.
That is true.
I'm just saying. You've all been playing.
There it is.
I've been playing a bit of Marvel Future Revolution. But anyway, Google... yes. So they go into the uncle. The uncle. They go into the uncle's tomb. And there's it's a very like serene, peaceful interaction between them. Very much.
Well, at this point, it's just hand going.
Sorry,
because Saber and Dagger. Is it Daggers?
Yes,
maybe
Saber and Dagger.
Yeah. He was also in the movie. I think Dagger's in the movie. At least that black and white costume is definitely in promo art and stuff.
Yeah. So Saber and Dagger are just needing to hold off this Manticore while Shang-Chi actually goes forward. Sorry, Hand goes forward and finishes his mission.
Yeah. You tired of the hand bit yet, Will?
That's fine. It's great. It's a great bit.
Fine. It's good. It's good.
I haven't had to say it, so
yeah, that is true. But yeah, so it's very peaceful. It feels very like steeped in spirituality. I didn't look it up, but then I was reading through Joshy's notes, and Joshy did actually look it up for us. This like tomb sweeping ritual thing. And so he says, Google search shows the tomb sweeping ritual isn't fictional, but a tradition performed by Chinese people during the Qingming festival. So the same one Josh mentioned earlier.
I mentioned. There you go.
Symbolically, maintaining a clean gravesite commemorates deceased relatives and lets them know that they remain in your thoughts. Offerings include deceased's favorite foods, incense, and folded joss paper currency. Interesting how this tradition went virtual during COVID lockdowns. Well, that's very interesting.
That's cool.
Interesting, yeah. I didn't know that. That's cool.
So thanks for that, Joshy, because I wouldn't have looked it up. We probably would have looked it up right now again. But you saved us a bit of effort there.
Well, it's that just like the only reason it come to my mind is because of what was that movie with Awkwafina? Oh my god,
Crazy
The Family or something? I don't know.
Crazy Rich Asians?
Crazy Rich Asians?
No. There was a good movie.
Awkwafina.
I don't know. It was. I think it won an Oscar. Anyway, it's fine. I'll find it. Continue.
I watched her in something great.
Jumanji 2.
Yeah. That's the one. The one with it was all about an incredible.
She's in Jumanji 2.
She is.
The Farewell. The Farewell is the movie I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But there's a lot of that in there because it's all about a grandma that might be dying or might not.
Awkwafina living her best life in so many things.
I am so happy that she's in things.
Yeah.
She's so good.
It's sick. So good. Yeah, I feel like I have seen this ritual. I probably haven't really noticed it, but I feel like I've seen like the little brush of like, brushing a tombstone and then setting up food.
Yeah, it definitely
and
feels
things like that.
Something I've seen in a documentary somewhere or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very cool bringing that kind of cultural element into it. And then we have this lovely little page of the actual spirit of Zheng Yu eating the food and gradually becoming more and more material. Got some lovely onomatopoeia, munch, 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 crunch, crunch, gulp. Again with the K's. Again, it's
crunch with the K's.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just really nice and happy, and I like that this got into the comic, that this little interaction between him and his uncle. It feels very peaceful and everything.
And I like that it's some of this seems to be like baked goods. So it's like
his work.
Hand brought it from his work.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Just food that he had left over or something.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I really like this bit. We find out
in the spirit saying, "Brought food, good boy." I think that's what it says there.
Came, brought food, good boy.
Come visit.
I think that kind of explains why he's speaking very briefly, because it's a spirit, so he doesn't have that power. Because he, as you can see in the bottom here, is like his speech kind of starts like getting better as he gets more food and stuff.
As he materializes and gains his flesh back in his spirit form.
I believe he gains his gain, as the youth say. They say gains.
He gets gains.
He gains his gains,
as the youths say.
With a
Z. What he finds out? They find out here that Zheng Yu actually told Zheng Ji to
suck him,
to kill him, So we go back to what?
What? He sucks his soul.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a bit of soul sucking. So we go back to 1860.
So defensive. He's sucking his soul, damn it!
What do you want? I know what I said.
Yeah. I don't even know what to do with that. I'm just going to move on.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. We move. Yeah, go to 1860 in Shanghai. This is a place I do know, so luckily I can pronounce Shanghai.
You've been to 1860.
Yeah, I've been to 1860.
I'm familiar with Shang-Chi. Sure.
I will say. Oh, actually, no. When I was writing that little title, I did write Shang-Chi initially, so I say I could have nearly screwed it up.
I mean, it's Shanghai, China. It's all the letters are there.
Yeah, it's very close. But I will say, I don't think someone who was actually in Shanghai in 1860 was freaking Dormammu. And Baron Harkness, who I assume is like Agatha's like grandfather or something.
I was meant to look this up, but I was hoping one of you guys would know, but it doesn't sound like anyone has that definite. But yeah, when I read that, I was like, sick.
I think I looked it up the first time I read it, and then this time I was like, I don't need to look it up. It's not like I'm doing a comic book podcast on it or anything.
Yeah.
He only exists in that comic.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. And there's no history about further history about where he comes from?
I'll have a look, but it doesn't seem like it.
Sure.
But yeah, there's
probably assume
Dormammu here is very cool. They got the mindless ones come in, which Joshi, who has possibly deeper comics knowledge than me, classic villain, first appeared in 1964 in Strange Tales Volume 1, number 127. So there you go. Mindless one's been around for, let's do some quick maths, 57 years at this point.
You go. And they had 57 years to get it right, and then they made the Doctor Strange movie where they just had like crazy eye makeup. Whoa.
Yeah. Are those supposed to be the mindless ones?
Well, that's kind of what happens at the end when they're kind of like deteriorating and stuff. Like they're gonna.
I didn't even catch that because they look so different.
Yeah.
This is the iconic mindless ones.
Well, it's like they could come back and they could do something better with old mate from the James Bond movies, Mads Mikkelsen. They could play with him a bit more because he's kind of technically still around. They can do something with it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I will say Dormammu in the comics famously looks really dumb, And this is, on this occasion, does look a lot more like the actual Doctor Strange movie representation of him, which is very cosmic and cool. Dormammu in the comics is normally literally like that little flame head, but he's just like the size of a normal
dude. Yeah.
It's very funny.
I don't think I realized the thing right in the middle was a hand reaching out.
Yeah.
I think I thought that was just some sort of explosion or mystical smoke or something, but now I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, that is a hand, like
it's a hand
reaching through the portal, which is a very cool shot.
Famously, this comic about hands.
Apparently. It's all about the hands, man.
Yeah. Dolphin Pants also had a note on this page, which is why are Luke and Leia Skywalker on the bottom of the page?
That is a good question.
Yeah. There's actually
Luke's holding a sword.
There's actually two different versions I noticed of Leia in this one. There's the one in the middle, which with the princess buns, and in the very right corner, it's another version of Leia's hair. In my opinion, it's very small, but
it's like Return of the Jedi.
But it's so we got two Leias and a Luke in this panel.
That's great.
Which is, thanks for pointing that out, Dolphin Pants, because I wouldn't have had it looked otherwise. Then we get a little mention of camouflage in a bit. So I like that they're kind of tying it into that other mystical stuff in the Marvel Universe. And camouflage and all that stuff, a lot more grounded in Asia in the comics. It was a lot more westernized, I feel, for the film. But I hope in future they kind of like pull it back a bit to camouflage and stuff, and do that kind of thing.
Wong's getting hair now. He's not supposed to have hair.
That's true.
What's that about? He's getting further and further away.
Amazing meme. I can't remember who posted it, but it was like, I want what Wong's got.
Yeah, because he was completely. When I saw that, because I think I've said it as well. The photo of him in Doctor Strange, he's completely bald. It's like, what the hell happened?
That's great.
Yeah.
Magic.
He's using...
that guy made himself walk through magic. Why can't Wong
just
make himself have hair?
He just didn't like being bald anymore.
No, it's so funny. It's so funny, and it's also like it's such an MCU thing of like they get him in, they do the thing, and then they're like, "So you're around for the next 10 years," and they go, "Cool. I don't want to wear that anymore."
Yeah, I don't want to look like that.
We got you. It's fine. We got your thing.
Yeah.
Right, Karen Gillan, we won't shave your head.
Yeah.
Every 4 years.
Apparently that was on her. Apparently she did it, and then they were like, you know that you didn't have to. Like, because we clearly can do that.
You know, like bald caps and stuff exist as well.
Yeah.
It's very normal. At least I don't think in Marvel, in MCU films, it's gotten as bad as Mystique in the Fox films. I know Jennifer Lawrence really didn't like that. Famously.
Yeah. She literally said, "Kill me" in the last movie. Kill me as quick as you can.
Oof.
And so they did.
They did.
In a
film,
Spike. In a film that I watched recently for the first time, and still not sure why it exists. But yeah, anyway, back
so
to
they
Shang-Chi.
can hold the license.
Yeah, literally. Back to Shang-Chi. Back to the comic Shang-Chi. I'm not talking about the character because the character will only be referred to as Hand.
Correct.
But basically, there's a bit of exposition going on here as Dormammu comes in, Agatha Harkness comes in. Not Agatha, Baron Harkness comes in. Yeah. And then they talk about these magic crystals from camouflage that suck the soul out of someone to do something and something. And then basically, this is where we find out that, Zheng Yu was told Zheng Ji to stay alive for some reason, and then they were basically like, so this explains why Zheng Ji was an asshole all the time. He was just trying to instill fear in people. I'm like, nah.
That doesn't explain.
I'm sorry, that does not explain this at all.
You're just an asshole.
Such an asshole. Like, you can't say this was all a cover up. So. Again, it doesn't even make sense, really, why you cover it up. Why do you need to cover up that was how it happened? Like, if it's to instill fear, I don't feel like you need to do that. But anyway, and having said that, just like, you can instill fear without being a total and utter dick, which Zheng Ji very much is. So yeah, just, again, weird choice. And I'm just going to shout it out again as we finish this issue. The Yummy Dummy Human, because it's at the bottom of my notes. So I'm going to bring it up again.
Good stuff.
Yummy Dummy Human. Did we lose any plot? I think they finish fighting the Manticore.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Hand comes down, he seems to have had like some sort of spiritual revelation, which we basically don't see. We don't know why suddenly he's just full of power.
Yeah.
But he comes out and just defeats this Manticore super easily. I think Saber was about to die. Saber was pinned against a wall by the Manticore's hand.
Yeah.
That's probably the yummy dummy human.
Yeah.
Because he was just about to, probably peel his face off and eat his face meat.
Yeah.
And then Shang-Chi Hand comes in with with all this power somehow. I literally flipped back through the pages. I'm like, did I miss where he like had some weird kind of spiritual like a lot of power just fill him or something? But no.
Because at least in Infinity War, it's like you see the axis being formed, and then it's like, oh, what's going to happen? And so when he lands, you're like, oh yeah, I connect the dots here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That happened, but all I took away from it was yummy dummy human.
Yummy dummy human. Yeah.
Dummy thick if it's similar.
That's true.
It's dummy thick with a big old butt.
Big old butt. Anyway, issue 5.
Speaking
of the comic,
big old butt, there it is.
The backside of
always
the comic.
Wipe.
Always wipe well. Get it all out. What was that, Will?
That's a really well wiped wipe.
It's karate chop.
She said, hey, okay.
Karate chop. It does look like a karate chop. Well, it's this.
Okay. So that's how Will wipes his butt, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really. Anyway,
karate chop it out of there.
I'm glad that joke has made it through to the end of this.
So good.
Issue 5.
Literal potty humor.
Literal, quite the most literal potty humor.
Educational, though.
Educational, yeah. We just need to remind people to wipe, because, sometimes in your life you might forget to wipe. You might forget to wipe properly. You might be like, it's not that important. Always wipe well.
Remember to wipe with your Shang-Chi.
To wipe with your Shang-Chi.
With your hand.
With your hand. Oh, I see what you did there.
There you go.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. But actually, don't wipe with your hand. Put a bit of toilet
That's true.
in there first.
But something in between, at least.
Yeah. A paper talisman.
A good book or something.
Yeah. We're back to London, England in issue 5. I don't know why they chose London. I feel like they could have chosen somewhere more interesting, but that's fine. Zombie vampires just raging through this city, and this, I'm sure, will never get a mention again in any Marvel comic, but...
We did lose one bit of plot, which is the dude that was almost going to die looked into the eyes of old mate, and it showed this future. That's the one little bit. Is that he
is that what happened?
Sable was nearly going to die.
I missed that.
Sable was given a future. That's why at the end of the comic, he's like, "Oh, I don't know about this power you've gotten. I'm not sure about this."
I'm sure he's very after Australian, babe.
It's a bit scary.
I think when I first saw this, I was just like, did something just happen? Like they killed the Manticore and then some sort of evil spirit from the Manticore went into him? Because he looks kind of menacing and a little bit like he's gone off.
Yeah.
For some reason, and
then
something's turned. But I understand now. Yeah, that makes more sense.
And of course, they didn't kill the president because they weren't actually getting ambushed. It was a fake ambush, just so that Amanda Waller back at base thought they were being ambushed.
Right.
Important to know.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Always remember.
Yeah. Always remember. The wipe. Always remember to wipe. But yeah.
Zombies.
So we lost some plot. We got the plot back. Now we're back to the zombies. That again, raging through the major city, and this will proceed to never be brought up ever again.
No.
Ever again.
Yeah.
Classic comic book thing. Just literally in the middle of the streets of London. Like you see one of those big, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a big cone-shaped tower in the back from London. I just know about that. But anyway, you see that in the back. But cool. We're in London. I guess that's fine. We learn that every Shang-Chi is animated by spirit energy and an unavenged grievance. Basically, anyone
animal
who is living...
logic.
And animal logic.
Animated by...
But I was just gonna say, basically, anyone living in Sydney or Melbourne right now has an unavenged grievance.
That's it. Yeah.
Which
Gladys.
me realizing that basically ruined the entire rest of the comic here, because they're basically like, for Hammer to take over London with these ShangChi, to get all these ShangChi, to be able to convert them all, she needed to supply them all with an unavenged grievance, which she did, which was her own grievance, which she did through a chip that she inserted into each of them, which I assume is why they had technology and stuff. And it was just her grievance of her hating but also loving her father, all a bit weird and complicated. But it's like, surely everyone has like at least one unavenged grievance, right?
Yeah, everyone's a little bit pissed off.
Everyone's a little bit pissed off at something. Like, especially this comic clearly set in like 2020, because they mentioned YouTube. Like, climate change exists. Everyone's a little bit pissed off.
The pandemic exists.
The pandemic exists. Granted, this is before the pandemic, so like they couldn't see that far ahead. But like, I get maybe it's supposed to be like a big grievance or a specific grievance with someone, but I feel like you maybe didn't need to go through all this effort to like chip all these people with your specific grievance. I reckon they all would have had at least one.
Well, I guess it's in a film, they probably would have let it be, but it's almost like, because in a movie they can have those moments of those people like visualizing their grievances. But in the comic, they're like, I don't know how we can explain, not that they need to, exactly, because everyone would have it, but I guess it's their way to gloss over and be like, this is why this works. Whereas in a film, they probably would have had a moment to be like, here's some examples of what makes these people a zombie. But for sure, they didn't need it.
A lot of this combat is just people putting like paper slips on people's heads.
Yes.
Which is kind of cool. It's
chicken blood paper.
Definitely a different like ending fight theme or something. And Shang-Chi is gradually getting converted as well as this is all going on to Sister Hammer's control.
Yes, this whole time his wound has like healed over, but it's still weird and golden, and it hurts whenever she's near.
Her kind of turning into a Shang-Chi, which doesn't really make sense because he's not dead, and I thought they were reanimated dead people. But anyway,
magic.
Is it because he's on like the cusp? Because he's on the cusp of death because of the wound?
Yeah, maybe. That's why that's leaking and everything.
Anyway, it doesn't work very well. Then Shang-Chi goes into the spirit world, resolves the grievance that he has with her father, and then they're kind of like, oh, it's fine, I feel good now. And the most pointless the fact that she runs away here, the fact that she's still angry at Shang-Chi here feels so like it feels so unnecessary. It's for me, it's clearly. So this comic is getting continued, kind of. There's a new ongoing series of Shang-Chi, written by the same people, based off this like origin and stuff. It feels very much like they're like, oh, we just need to save her for later for another conflict or something. But it's so like they like clearly clear up all the baggage she has about her father in her head, and then she's like, oh, but I just feel empty, so I'm gonna fight you anyway, and then I'm gonna run away. And I'm like, just have the family be happy with each other at this point. I feel
it's Gamora just walking away at the end of Endgame. It's like, just stay. Where are you going? Why are you just leaving?
You're not on a planet you know.
Where do you think you're going?
Where are you going?
You're not in a universe that you know. This is a different reality.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I just would have either they stay with her or they have a better she stays with them, or they have a better reasoning for why she's running away than her just being but I feel empty.
They do the old fashioned like, cool, we've settled this, but guards, take her away. That old like, well, we need to keep you. It's Loki. Just give her a Loki moment where it's like, I trust you, but not entirely.
Yeah, totally.
Put her in a cell.
And they also Avengers won all of the Shang-Chi, where as soon as they all just power down as soon as the grievance is healed. Everything's over.
Again, they would have their own grievances.
They just keep going.
Keep going. Yeah.
I guess maybe that's why they did it then. That's why they made it her grievance. Otherwise,
so they could power them down.
Maybe. Maybe. I feel like we're being generous. But that's fine. We can be generous. I'm feeling generous tonight. It definitely doesn't sound like I'm feeling generous, but that's fine. Anyway, we
end through gritted teeth.
Oh my god.
Feeling generous, damn it.
We finish in San Francisco once again. Got to bring it all back to Grandma Wang and Delilah, famously tree bark for a face.
I'm gonna find the line. I've got a comment about Delilah, but continue.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Josh also brought up earlier that it took them like 3 female characters being introduced for him not to be a love interest with one of them, which I thought was very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a lot more left to say about this last little bit. Just that I'm going to miss Grandma Wang because Shang-Chi kind of says I'm leaving. I'm not going to come back. And then they're like, Delilah's like, oh, we might still go on a date if you can remember my number. I specialize in superhero lore. And I'm like, cool, okay.
Doesn't everyone?
So you're Jennifer Walters, but not She-Hulk.
Yeah.
If I don't know, I was like, whatever. I don't care about this. You're clearly doing it to keep a love interest around in the future comics, but
yeah, there was a line where she was kind of like, "Oh, you haven't gotten to know me very well. My last client, whilst on the podium, his head burst into flames." So she was probably
Johnny.
Yeah, probably handling either Johnny or Ghost Rider,
which is also Johnny.
Is it? Are they both Johnny?
I think he's a Johnny as well.
Yeah, right. Of course he is.
Robbie.
Or a Robbie, yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
Or there's a few Ghost Riders now, actually.
There are, yeah.
So,
So there's a back pocket at a moment. The thing I wanted to say about Delilah, she's introduces herself to the Hand as she goes, "I'm Delilah, Grandma Wang's niece," and he says, "Delilah, hello," which I looked at and I'm like, they just didn't want to write, "Hey there, Delilah." They like made sure that it was in the wrong order, and the other word is hello.
That's great.
Yeah, they didn't even want to go, "Hey, Delilah," because they were like, "No, we can't."
No, they're gonna go. We're gonna remove any sort of punctuation, and it's now Delilah.
Just said like, hello. "Nice to meet you" or something like.
That is Delilah, hello.
Yeah.
And we have a little epilogue at the end of this. Cheeky little teaser for another comic. And my kind of thing, it's teasing that the father is now a spirit that is talking to Shang-Chi. They all go back to the House of the Staff or the Hand or one of them. Not really sure which one. And basically all agree, we're past our father's dynasty. We're now all doing this together, but technically I'm still in charge because it was the flame that was lit up. So technically there's still a leader, but there's also not sure. But anyway, then at the very end in this epilogue, they're like, oh, but actually the father's still here and you're following down this path. And I find with that's like a fine setup to a new comic. Just make them look a little bit different, please. Like, I understand there was, like, the mystery of it across all these, that it was actually Zheng-Ji, which could be Zheng-Yu, I don't know. I feel like none of that was particularly necessary. Yeah. Maybe just make them look a bit different. They're not twins. They're not identical. Yeah. Anyway.
I feel that.
I think a couple of things. I think I remembered why they ended up going to the cave, or why we know that they went to the cave. I think. So when they were at Dagger's facility where they're training, it was Dagger's facility, when they're training to, like, with the medallions and stuff, he goes into their shrine room where the spirit that's talking to him says, "Go over to my shrine, push it over or push it out of the way." Yeah. Which that's the push thing. And there's like an older shrine with some other stuff happening, and I'm wondering whether that's
there's a map.
There's a map. And
then he sends it to his MI6.
That's right, because he's got his phone out. Yeah, that's right. And then she gets pissed at him for Dagger gets pissed at him for defacing this thing that she probably didn't even know existed.
We
anyway,
reeled another bit of plot back in.
There you
go. The plot.
Lost it and found it again.
Yeah.
Some good stuff. I was also going to say, I read. So we're done with this, right?
Yes.
We finished? Yeah.
Yes.
I read the first issue. I enjoyed this for the most part, and enjoyed the characters. So I read the first issue, which is the only other issue of Shang-Chi that comes after this. So it's the 2021 series.
Yeah.
And I think it's roughly called like Shang-Chi versus
the Marvel
Universe or something.
Yeah, it's very so I've read it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it starts off with Shang-Chi dating Delilah. They're on a date somewhere, and then he ends up having to fight someone. Spider-Man turns up, and then there's just this whole thing with Spider-Man because Shang-Chi decides to be the leader of the 5 weapons group, and now he's trying to clean everything up.
Yeah.
But he's now the leader of a group that was like kind of famously basically a criminal organization.
Yeah.
And so he's like trying to clean it up, and he's worried that Spider-Man will see the things that this group are doing and then find out that Shang-Chi is now the leader of that group, and then think that Shang-Chi is now bad, even though he's trying to change things and clean it up. So there's a bit of that sort of like dynamic in Shang-Chi trying to keep things secret and things like that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of that series.
The second one is teased to be Captain America. I mean, it's already out at this point, but I just saw the teaser on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah, cool.
And it's Captain America, so I assume he's going through all them. But it's like it's supposed to be an ongoing series, so it's supposed to be more than 5 issues. It's supposed to go on for a while, hopefully. So it'd be interesting.
I would imagine it would now that there's a movie out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting coming out. See where they take it after that arc. If he stays with Delilah, if Delilah actually works with Jennifer Walters, that might be cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
watch her show up in the TV, the Disney Plus show. Like, has she existed before this 2020 comic? Is she existing purely so they can put her in the thing? We'll see.
Purely a new character.
It's going to be her. It's going to be Delilah, Jessica Jones, who's basically confirmed as well, and Jennifer Walters. Just the trio.
Does that mean we could get Grandma Wang?
Maybe we could get Grandma Wang.
Honestly, I'll be so happy if Grandma Wang is in this at all.
Yes. Great.
We won't know for 45 days. Not salty about it at all. Just to wrap up the Shang-Chi chat. We have some final viewer comments.
Yes.
A little bit long, so I'll try and make them a bit shorter. But we'll start off with the shortest one, which is Dolphin Pants, which says, not sure about this one. Like, I'm glad I read it, but I'm very excited to see how the movie goes if I can ever get out of the house. So, thanks, Dolphin Pants.
In 45 days, you won't need to get out of the house.
45 days, you'll just watch it at home. You'll probably still be in the house. Sorry. I'm sorry to bring the mood down, everyone.
Quick question on that. I suddenly just had the thought. In 45 days,
it's free.
Shang-Chi is free.
It's free, yeah.
It's not Premier Access.
No, so the benefit is we don't have to pay $35. But I'm also I just pay $35.
Yeah.
It is good. It is good.
I was prepared to.
And it's all Disney. All Disney comes to Disney Plus 45 days after release. That is just the way that. Like Black Widow would have been the same deal, but they just put it to it without.
So is that technically the blanket rule from now on going forward?
Yeah, Free Guy is set for like early September, so we're almost in that too.
Okay, I mean, I don't hate it for films that I really don't want to see, but I feel like
Free Guy, what a fucking stab in the chest for Ryan Reynolds.
I didn't mean it like that. I actually really want to see Free Guy.
Yeah.
What I meant to say was I don't mind it for films that like I don't feel like I desperately need to see on release, like Free Guy. Like I really want to see that film, but I'm fine like waiting a little bit. It's kind of stuff with like Marvel where people are chatting about it at that point. It's very much like feels like watching it in the moment is one of the best experiences. You get to do all the theory crafting, that kind of thing. So I feel like keep that's good for like most of your films, but for even for like Cruella and stuff, we don't need to see them straight away. It's fine. But for stuff like Marvel films, I feel like Premier Access just like going forward, if this is how films exist going forward because of the pandemic, I feel like at least with Marvel films be like, okay, everyone should see this at the same time roughly. It's my minor annoyance with I think it's Spider-Man, minor annoyance of Spider-Man. They've pushed that back like a week and a half here for no reason. Some Boxing Day. That one isn't even like pandemic related. It's just weird timing stuff.
Yeah.
And like June has been pushed back like a month in Australia. I just don't like the staggered release dates. That's my main problem. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That was very recent.
I mean, Dune has been pushed back for 3 years, so it's okay.
Yeah, probably longer than that.
Yeah. But it's my main thing. I just don't like the staggered release date. Like, release the film everywhere at the same time, even if it's in different ways. Because it's
especially for something that big. Like,
totally.
For the Marvel universe, like you want to do it for your Marvel universes, your Star Warses, like all of that. That needs to be international release same time.
Yeah. Like,
surely.
I can deal with two and a bit weeks with Spider-Man. It maybe almost feels a little bit worse because it's like, well, what's the point? But at the same time, I can deal with that little bit of waiting.
I feel like there was a Marvel movie or a movie where there was a delayed release in Australia and then it got bumped back to where it needed to be. So it could end up happening.
I can see that happening. I can also see that they just end up doing preview screens for 2 weeks in advance that they just call preview screens, but are normal screenings. That's also a very common thing to do.
It's not going to happen for Shang-Chi though.
No,
with 2 days to go.
It's not going to happen with Shang-Chi. I just hope with Eternals they're like, okay, this didn't work.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be able to see it in the cinemas by then. Who knows? Possibly.
Fingers bloody.
Please. We'll see.
What did Jade think?
Jade, we were on the viewer comments. I forgot. Yeah. Jade basically no specific issue comments, but wanted to say just that initially she didn't have any idea who the character was, and it was like, I guess I live under a rock. But no, I think that's fair. Shang-Chi is like outside of the 70s and 80s, as we mentioned, kind of went away for a while. Yeah, it's very fair enough. But my local comic book store, which I cleverly visited pre-lockdown, very smart, knew exactly which comic volume I was referring to and just popped it straight off the shelf.
Nice.
We love good comic book store
Locals.
Clerks. I don't know the word for them, but I love going to a comic book store, and the people who are in charge always, like, you mention anything to them and they'll be like, we get it. We know it.
So good. I want to go to a comic book shop.
Oh, me too. It's almost like me and Josh have been trying to go to a comic book shop together for like 2.5 months.
Yeah, almost like that.
But I just on that, not to get on another tangent, but I will briefly mention there was a comic book shop I recently found near me, like only like a 10-minute drive away. And the guy there was amazing. We went in and my partner Jay was like, I want some comics. I'm into like kind of horror-y stuff, like independent stuff. I just want to know. And he was like, oh, hell yeah, let me give you all these recommendations. He was just firing through them. And I was like, I can't keep up, but this is great. You do you, man.
That's the best. You need to take me there when we're allowed, if we're ever allowed.
I will, one day.
So we're not allowed to plan that we will go to a comic book shop together, because
otherwise the lockdown will be extended.
That's when bad things happen. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, back to Jade. Stuff I really liked. Sister Hammer's hammer makes a crush sound with a K.
Okay.
With a K.
Serious stuff is regularly undercut by jokey dialogue. I don't know if I agree with this one, but I'm glad you saw it like that. For me, there was a lot of serious chat and then little bits of jokey dialogue. But I'm glad you saw it like that. You mentioned a line here, which was, I was really looking forward to that last bite, which I think is the Manticore. Again, the best character.
It's so funny,
I don't even know if it's a Manticore, but I'm calling it that.
It was it was the muesli bar that I think the Manticore ate. Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, that's right.
Like, I was looking forward to the last bite.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Right. Dagger gets all mad.
That's very good. The playing around with the expectations, like, is Sister Hammer going to kill him? Oh, I guess she's not. They're hugging it, eating cake. Oh, poison. Again, I didn't really like that, but that's fine. It's the kind of thing where I saw the betrayal coming, but I do like that they at least tried to be like, oh, maybe it won't happen. But it was kind of maybe it was because I've read it before. That's probably what it was. Maybe. And I knew there was more issues and she was going to be in it. The tomb sweeping ritual and the uncle eating, restoring him somewhat, also very cool. Shang-Chi turning slowly into a Jiangshi and the effect on him, that was a cool little through line across the whole thing.
Yeah.
Leiko Wu, who's the MI6 agent, her hair is always billowing and epic, which is also true. It's always just like out there flopping about. That was not the phrase to use, out there flopping about, but anyway.
It almost reminds me of kind of Alita Battle Angel hair.
Yeah.
Her hair in the comics is always very like big and anime. It's very anime.
Yeah,
her character
there are a
seems
few
very
facial expressions that are very like manga anime kind of in this. There's definitely an art style inspiration there. The ominous foreshadowing about Shang-Chi's future at the end, is pretty cool. Very ominous. And the role reversal with how Sister Dagger is won over by the end, but now Brother Saber is a bit wary. We didn't mention that, but it is kind of cool how Sister Dagger is like, I hate you. You're an asshole. Just come with us. And then by the end, she's like, no, I love you. And Brother Saber's like, something's going on here.
Yeah. And Dagger is the one who is hanging out with him at the start of the next issue. Yes. And is doing the following missions with Spider-Man and stuff. So it's just Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, and Dagger, which is very cute. It's very fun because she's significantly younger than the rest of them. She seems to be like early teens, and the rest of them
I know Will criticized
20s to 30s.
I know Will criticized the family stuff a bit earlier, but that's what I mean when kind of like, because I've read that issue as well, and I do like that it's a through line now they have, and they can bring back these characters in that way. Give Shang-Chi a bit more of like the opposite of a rogues gallery,
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
A heroes museum.
Familiar gallery.
Familiar, yes. And finally, Joshi with the viewer comment says, easily the strongest comic outing Shang-Chi's had of the small handful of comics I've read containing him. Read about 15 years ago a couple Marvel team-ups and a board flick through some solo outings from the 80s or 90s. Regardless, not a high bar to clear. Yeah, that's
like a
true.
DC movie.
Doesn't sound like it.
Phenomenal artwork, especially the covers, and some of those variants are sublime. I didn't bring up any of the variants. It's a segment I want to put in this podcast in the future once I can work out the timing of it and not making the podcast go on for 2 hours. But I want to have a bit where we go into the variants. Variant covers of some of them, because
we can play like the Loki music.
yeah.
Nice.
We just do the song every time.
Yeah, we didn't do a good job. Will did a better job. Anyway, I think there's a Jen Bartel variant.
Yeah. Oh, sick.
So
that would be gorgeous.
I will have a.
Can we chuck it up in post?
Chuck it up in post. Just give me some extra work to do, but I'm happy to do it. Chuck it up in post.
There it is. Oh, it's over his hands. How weird.
It won't be over my hands. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll be up here. Maybe it'll be on Will's face. I can't point the right direction.
It won't be. Oh, this one. I do remember this variant.
Yeah.
That's on my face currently.
Okay. it's maybe on Will's face. Anyway, the stories... Joshi also says the story's message surrounding family being complicated was clear, but the road there zipped and zagged in a way that felt more like narrative inconsistency than intrigue and mystery. For example, rejuvenated from an ethereal visit during a tomb sweeping ritual, only for the Shang-Chi curse to spring up worse than ever next issue. That is very true.
It's very true.
He rejuvenates when he comes out of the tomb, and then all of a sudden he's still affected by
dying.
it. And they even mention, "Oh, you look so much better," and then the next issue he's not. So it is a bit weird.
Interesting.
Shang-Chi's sidekicks quickly felt superfluous after a solid intro in issue 1. I do agree that they kind of feel just like Saber and Dagger just kind of feel like there for a lot of it. But as Josh mentioned, I do think they fixed that a bit with kind of Dagger in the 2021
It's all set up in this.
And also in the Manticore fight, I do think they're well used.
Yeah, and having Leiko Wu in it more would have been really cool.
Yeah,
like he just sort of sends her off in issue 1, I think. Sets the autopilot on their jet. Yeah, just sends her off, and it's like, but she's cool. She's such a cool character. It'd be cool to have more of her in the future. But it's unfortunate that they just got rid of her so quickly.
And then Joshi says overall rating 3.5 out of 5 Cliff Bars.
That's the muesli bar that he said. Yeah,
very good.
Good.
And then the final thing Josh says is that I may at some point check out the follow-up series, which you've mentioned, where they take on the Avengers. And writer Gene Lung Young writes that, this writer of this series, he says with a new art illustration team, but I think it's he's keeping the guy who worked on the modern day stuff. Potentially new cover artist, though. And yeah, it's an ongoing series. So definitely go check that out now if you liked this at all. Or even maybe if you didn't like it as much, but are looking for more Shang-Chi. I did really enjoy the way they incorporated Spider-Man into that first issue. And I think it would be cool going forward to see how they bring in other characters.
Yeah. And I think the first issue didn't have a flashback, so maybe that's why he kept the modern day to keep consistency between the two, but there didn't seem to be a flashback back to
I think they're done. I think
the
they're
1800s and
with
things
the
like that.
flashbacks for now. So I think that's why the main artist is now. What's his name? Bring his name back up one more time.
Yeah,
it is Dyke Ruan. Wonderful.
Nice.
I gave a thumbs up to the camera for audio listeners. So did Will.
Not just a weird, awkward silence.
No, not just weird.
I'll do it too for completeness.
Yeah, but we filled that silence, so it was less awkward. Anyway, it's a long recording, but it's been fun to talk about Shang-Chi. I've enjoyed it.
And we've got to wait a full over a month to talk about Shang-Chi again, so it's nice to do it now.
It's true. That is true. It's nice. It's nice to kind of talk about a character that maybe we all know a little bit less. Even me having read this before, I still learn a lot, like doing some research up on the character.
Yeah.
And as I said, that Comic Drake video that he put up recently goes like super good detail about all the history behind Shang-Chi.
Nice, cool.
Again, if you don't follow his stuff, I highly recommend it. There's not a lot of good comic book YouTubers out there. We're one of them. He's another one of them. So yeah, I totally would recommend that if you want to know more about Shang-Chi. But next month. It's kind of a weird one, isn't it, boys?
Ooh, yeah.
So, this is what we mentioned it briefly earlier in the podcast, but my goodness, Sony does not want me to do a Carnage. Does not want us to do a Carnage. This is the second time I've tried to make it Maximum Carnage, because that's the famous Carnage comic. I've tried to do it twice. I put it on the list twice, and then it got delayed twice. So, I'm sorry, we're never doing that. If your movie is coming out in January, there's too much other stuff in January at this point. We're never doing Carnage. It's fine. The movie's going to be shit anyway.
This is your fault, Sony.
Yeah, it's your fault, Sony. But in fact, we're doing quite a fun one, because I was like, well, what else is coming out in October? Will, what else is coming out in October that's comic book related?
This little video game called The Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, hey? We don't know a lot about that game, but what we do know is one character that will be in it that's not the Guardians, which is called Lady Hellbender. You may ask, who is Lady Hellbender? None of us really know.
We don't know.
So we're going to find out. And it's not in a Guardians comic. We're actually reading Totally Awesome Hulk 2015, issues 1 to 4. It is also the introduction of Amadeus Cho, who's another Hulk in the Marvel Universe. And
another Chinese Hulk. Another Chinese character.
Yeah, totally. Very cool.
I'll just say it just to add to, maybe they're in She-Hulk.
Maybe they're in She-Hulk.
That's a theorized thing that is also out there.
Yeah, totally. So we're maybe getting ahead of the game here with this one, but also we're getting ahead of the Guardians game, because Lady Hellbender will be in it, and she's also in these comics. So I thought that's a fun little one to do to fill in the month, because apparently Sony doesn't want us to do Carnage, so we'll do something way different, very, very different. And
just super quickly to clear anyone getting their fingies ready to at me, I'm so sorry. He is Korean American. He's not Chinese. I'm so sorry for getting that wrong. Again, I've never read any Amadeus Cho, so I don't know him. I just assumed that was a bad assumption. Korean American, Amadeus Cho. Very keen.
Good on you, Josh. I mean, to be fair, we all went with the assumption, so I'm also sorry.
We're all bad.
But yeah, no, I've read a few things he's in, but I haven't actually read any of his comics on his own. He's part of the Agents of Atlas, which Jimmy Woo leads.
Also probably coming at some point.
That's also probably coming at some point. Probably with Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what we're doing next month. It's going to be very fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then the months after that, you'll have to find out soon, because I was going to reveal them all at the end of this podcast, but then I realized I didn't have it as planned as I thought.
Not quite.
But they're cool. They'll be fun.
They'll be fun. You can probably predict them based on what's coming out. But
and what we like.
You can definitely predict one of them, for sure. But maybe not which month it's in.
No.
Anyway, that'll do. That'll do, folks. Where can we find all of us? That's a bad way to introduce this. Where can we find me? where can we find Josh? Let's start with Josh this time.
Where can we find me? What else do I do? You can just find me on ETTO, I guess. I can plug ETTO because that's the only other thing that I do really on the internet. That way, Ben. Yeah, nailed it. You can find me at twitch.tv/ETTO online, ETT online. Often with Will, sometimes also Ben, sometimes just by myself. Come hang out. You're kind of here already. This is an ETTO thing. You guys know where to find us.
Yeah.
Will, where you at? Patreon.com/each to their own.
You get $3 will get you a secret tips off.
And you can
absolutely nailed it
to the comic cast. And definitely we'll try and include as much as you can, but I do, as more people write more stuff, I do have to cut more of it out. Please keep writing it because I love reading it. I just have to let you know that it won't all make it in because I have to keep the comic cast as short as possible, and they're still incredibly long. But anyway,
we have to be a little bit selective with what we grab from you guys. But
but please still write it all because I genuinely do enjoy really reading it.
Yes. Yeah, it's really fun. You can find me at Wilbo, depending if you go back to the comic book frame where you show pages, Ben.
Oh, did I not change it on this one?
No, it's okay. No. I only noticed that you can go to this one.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Oh dear. Let's go back to this one.
But that's okay because Ben and I recorded that's Josh. Ben and I recorded a podcast this morning where I said that my handle was the Doctor of Who, and Ben went, "No, it's actually," and I'm like, "Oh shit, right."
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, you can find us in all those places, and if you're listening to this podcast on a sound-based platform, you can do the thing Josh said. Go to youtube.com/each to their own. But if you're watching this on a vision-based platform, you can go to pretty much anywhere, search ETTO's Catch Up, and you can listen to some older spoiler cast, some comic book club. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can listen there. But Ben, how are we living in our life?
How are we living in our life? That's a good question. Well, Josh is a game developer. Good on him. Makes some games. Will and I, in fact, work for Back Pocket, which you can find at Back Pocket Vids on almost all the social medias, and at youtube.com/backpocket, and at twitch.tv/back_pocket. That one's a bit of a wild one. But yeah, that's how Will and I make money, live our lives, get paid, afford these fancy lights. We don't spend it all on fancy lights, I promise.
No.
But yeah, we can be found there. I can also, you can find me at Ben Argle on Twitter. I do some tweets sometimes. I also do the tweeting for the Back Pocket Vids, which I just mentioned. Will does the editing. I also sometimes do editing. It's wild. It's a bit of a wild time over there. Anyway, the final thing I do is I do my own stream sometimes on twitch.tv/ArgonTV. And it's very fun. But yeah, you can also find me on ETTO stuff, bringing it all back around. Find me on the Comic Cast. We'll be back next month. It'll be wild. I've been Ben.
I've been Will.
I've been Josh.
Amazing.
Good night, Australia.
I also just super quickly apologize for yawning throughout this entire thing and having to wipe my eyes because I'm quite tired.
It's okay. We're all a bit tired. That's okay.
Just the whole time. Yeah.
Everyone, have a good night. Have a good sleep. If you're listening to this at 8 a.m., have a good day.
No, go sleep. Go sleep.
Go sleep.
You deserve it.
You don't.